you're going to have your base requirements, your business requirements, your, architectural decision records, which will all just be providing context for the machine.
Welcome to the /podcast, where we lean into the future of IT by inviting fellow thought leaders, innovators, and problem solvers to slash through its complexity. Today, we're talking to Adam Barrett, our friend from the Great White North. So as I spent most of my time looking for beer. Nobody's going to get that reference at all, where that came from.
Okay, you're blowing the intro. Towel off. Let's go.
Take off, you loser, eh? All right. After almost 2 decades of web development and over a decade of consulting at companies from large enterprises to tiny startups, Adam has learned a thing or two about the business of the web. Former host of the Build It Better podcast, a web-focused show about design patterns and development, and excruciatingly entertaining public speaker, Adam Barrett has all sorts of opinions on coding, design, architecture, business, intra-office politics, and board games, and wants nothing more than to stuff them in your ears until you politely ask him to stop. Welcome back to the show, Adam.
The best part about that intro is that I wrote it, and I love it.
Now,
hi, James.
I will point out, for those of you who do listen to the show, you may recognize Adam's voice. He is the singer of our jingle for the Ship It or Skip It segment of the show.
It's true. I did it.
It's true. It's true.
It was off the cuff too.
It was fantastic.
And I don't get any residuals for some reason. I don't know. I'm going to talk to some lawyers, but
the check's in the mail.
Oh,
yeah. When
excellent.
you get a percentage of all the money we make off of this podcast. So
awesome. Yeah, that sounds sweet.
Yes, once we're able to monetize this, you're going to be just swimming in money.
It's gonna be awesome.
It was funny the other day. Someone had just started listening to the podcast, and they reached out to me and they're like, "I just listened to the podcast and I really enjoyed it. And man, I didn't know you had such a great singing voice." And I'm like, "What? Did I sing something on the show?" I'm thinking like, I think of myself as having a nice singing voice, but I don't remember singing on the show. I was like, "What is she talking about?" And then I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's not my buttery voice. That's Adam's." So
I've just realized we sound similar enough that right now people are like, I don't know, is that just one guy talking to himself? Is he just goleming this whole podcast?
The precious
might be a thing.
Most of my impressions are pretty different than what my normal voice, But yeah, that would be fun though. I could just have a podcast episode where I'm interviewing the guy, Mr. Anderson. So what I like to do is I like to use React.js. I can do that and then talk to myself. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Thank you.
I think I have to steal that entire idea, including that Mr. Hansen.
So Mr. Anderson. So he was Mr. Anderson on Beavis and Butthead. So that's what I know him as.
Oh yeah, like King of the Hill, Hank Hill, right? Yeah. Oh, there's totally a thing there. Yeah, I can sort of see that. But I was thinking like Mr. Anderson.
Oh yeah, the Matrix. Yes.
Anyway.
All right. So thanks for joining us again. The last time we had a blast, and I have no doubt that this will be the exact same. We had a great time. We prepped for the call and we started talking a little bit about, I know AI, of course, is the big thing, but you've been doing some speaking about AI and your experience.
Yeah, not even about AI, but let me clarify that. So I'm doing, I give talks sometimes. I go to conferences, I give talks. And I gave 2 talks in February. One is about sort of like, well, it's called Front to Back, and it's just about like sort of consumer first design and programming in a way that's like, think about what your consumer needs and then move backwards towards the implementation. And I go into a lot of different like offshoots of that throughout my whole talk. And then I have this other talk that's about like JS signals, which is about like, this is about how JavaScript signals work. This is why they're popular in all the frameworks except the one. And this is like, let's make our own so that you fully understand it. So I gave both those talks in February, and now I'm giving them next week, the exact same 2 talks. But because of the change in the industry caused by like AI and LLMs and generating code, the talks feel out of place almost now. And I haven't really been able to reconcile it in my head without, like, I've thought about it, like, how could I change the talk? What do I need? But something about like, um, the first talk front to back, it's about managing complexity across teams. A lot of it, it's like, oh hey, we're gonna try and make sure things are organized and in this way that's easy to understand. And I'm like, but why do I care now? If the machine's going to code for me and I just tell it what the requirements are, do I need to manage the complexity? Because the machine's really good at understanding overly complex, over-engineered code. So that's not really a problem anymore, is it?
Yeah, I've struggled with that exact same thing. Like because I'm probably a lot like you. I like purity in the code. I like to be very simple. I like great abstractions and all of that. But like, does it really even matter? Am I wasting time here?
Yeah, and then same thing with the JS signals implementation. So I was trying to do this talk that's like, hey, beginners could come as long as you know a little JavaScript. You can learn about signals. You can learn about the history of like reactive programming and why these are better than the what we've had in the past. And now I'm like, but why would the beginners care? The beginners don't need to use this. The beginners are like, oh, I just tell the machine and it makes the thing work for me. Maybe the framework authors need to know about this kind of stuff, but it's like, where's that line now? And things have changed so much that I'm like, what happened? Like, it's only been, what is that, 6, 7 months since February? So yeah, I don't know where these talks land anymore. Like, because I don't know what we're calling it nowadays: vibe coding, context engineering, whatever. But like generating code with tools, AI assisted tools, and all that has sort of changed the industry in a sweeping fast way. And I think we even talked about AI the last time I was on, which was like over a year ago, I think, right? But it feels like this last little bit has been that, like, oh, this is the mainstream chunk now. Like, it was like, oh, the early adopters back about a year or two ago is like, oh yeah, all the people who are like trying out the new stuff. And then suddenly it's like everybody is doing it now. And it's,
Hmm.
oh yeah, how do you get your job done without it? Even myself, I find like daily, there's still limitations. Actually, this is an interesting topic, which maybe we want to dip into. Is there's still limitations on the people I work for? So the companies I work for,
Hmm.
which I probably shouldn't say, but anyway, the companies I work for have rules like, oh, you can only use this.
Right.
You can only use Copilot if you're on our an enterprise plan on GitHub or something. Whatever, you can't use whatever. You can't use Gemini. That's like right out,
Right.
just because of who they are.
Right.
And it's like, but I'm so used to it now, like especially Copilot with like agent mode. My brain, I try and ask questions immediately. I'm like, hey, tell me what this code does. And then I was, oh, wait, can't use that. Right. Okay.
Hmm.
So take that out and we move to whatever. And it's just like, oh yeah, it's become such a daily part of my life, even that it's like, this is where the questions start to come in. This is where I start to go, is my talk useful? Is managing complexity useful if the machine is going to do it anyway? Because it's so much better at understanding overly wrought code. But then we get into the, but overly complex wrought code is harder to debug. There was a study, and I wish I had it up right now, but I don't. That was like, um, nobody is nobody is actually saving any time. That
Right.
it's this whole thing of like, well, the new programmers are just kind of coding and they cause bugs, and then it's really hard to debug. And the older ones are like, oh, they feel like they're getting stuff done, but then they got to go back and they got to review and they got to like take things apart and understand what was made. And that's a hard part. Like, it's kind of like writing. You know how like writing, you remember things better if you write them down. It's like, if you wrote the code, you understand it. But if something wrote it and you just have to read it to understand it, it's a lot harder. And so in the end, the study was showing that like the actual times to ideation to deployment were not getting better. They're about the same. But everybody who was working on it answered that they felt so much more productive. Fascinating. I don't know.
It is.
Interesting
Yeah, I
topic.
think that's going to be a thing, but it goes back to that question. So, does it really matter that you don't recall the code that much? Because when you let's say when something goes bump in the night, or if you have to maintain that code or refactor it, or if you have to add a new feature, you're going to reach for AI at that point also. So you can let it figure it out again, right, and understand the code and then help you move forward. So is that even a problem that I don't know. It's a tough question we have to deal with as an industry. Like, But I think the JavaScript, I know you're big in the JavaScript world.
Yeah. Oh, I'm huge. I'm JavaScript famous. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, I'm well into JavaScript.
Well, they're and they're known for publishing libraries that are 2 lines of code, that kind of stuff. So I would guess that it's probably going to have a huge impact on the JavaScript community because you will no longer say, "Oh, I need a library for left pad," right? For instance, whatever. I'm just making fun of one very specific case, but I won't need a library or a framework for that anymore. The code will just generate it for me, or the AI will just generate that code for me, and it knows how to do LPAD. What do you think about that concept?
I think that's a really interesting insight, especially in wake of, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was the biggest NPM is like the
Mhm.
node package manager. It's actually apparently not what it stands for, but node package manager,
It's
which is
not?
like the thing that yeah, it's weird. But that's what all the JavaScript like registries all come from and stuff. There are other ones, but like that's the big one. It's where everything comes from. Anyway, they had their biggest like security problem in history, like bigger than LeftPad just recently because a bunch of things got compromised. And this one chalk, which is huge, just downloaded millions and millions of times a day. And it's like, yeah, like we've always known this is a problem with in the JavaScript industry. We've always known this is a problem with NPM and just the whole way Node packages things and runs code on your, you know, untrusted code on your machine and whatever. And it's like, well, it's always been a problem, but now it's getting worse. But now, like you said, we have a solution that maybe we don't need all these little thousand little packages. The old joke is like, oh, you npm install, and now suddenly you've run out of space in your computer because there's just so many little packages, and it's not wrong. Like, it's a joke, but it's not wrong. Like, there's thousands of little things because all the tree of dependencies all the way down to tiny one line functions that you're importing. It's like, well, what if we don't need that? What if we can do a lot of like zero dependency stuff because we have the machine to figure out the grunt work, which is, well, how do I left pad, you know, a bunch of zeros on this number? How do I I don't know what other, how do I color the console output, whatever, blah,
How to
blah. So
capitalize
we don't,
words or
yeah.
yeah, in a
So we
string,
can build up our own little, like this company's library, this company's little standard library without needing to have all those imports. And that is fascinating because that would address a huge concern, right? Like a huge security concern in the JavaScript industry right off the bat. Like, oh, maybe that's a good idea.
Well, I wonder what kind of an impact that's going to have on open source itself. Because I'm from the Java world, right? So we would have like Apache Commons and those sort of things. So we had the same utilities. They were all globbed together into one bigger jar files, not in one liners, but same thing. If I need left pad, I'm going to go to string utils or whatever, right? So I'm going to use that. But is that going to have an impact on open source? Are they not going to feel like they need to create these tools for other folks because they just have them already? And then, but where are they going to learn about it? Where's the AI going to learn about those things in the
Yeah, well,
future
that's what I was
either?
going to say. Where's the discovery too, right? Because you're not going to Twitter saying, "Hey, I found this really cool little library that lets me, modify a bunch of strings in this cool way." I don't know, whatever it
Right.
is. But it's like, yeah, well, the AI doesn't really know about it though. So what are you going to do? And it's like, yeah, well, how is the AI going to find out? And it kind of gives this like precedent, this thing, this like extra advantage to anything that existed before. This is actually kind of related to React. In the general JavaScript libraries, React has one. It is the framework that you think of when you're like going to go make web stuff right now.
Hmm.
And there are competitors, of course. There's the other frameworks like Angular and Vue and Svelte are all there, but like React won at a time right before AI kind of hit the scene. So now all the models, when you ask it to like, hey, I need a website that does this, it writes you React code, just like by default. You have to say, please don't use React, please use Svelte, and then you'll still get React code sometimes, depending on what model you're using, because it's like, oh, this is the web, this is what you want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can even ask for HTML, and you'll get React sometimes. Like it is one in that sense of it established itself right before the machines learned how to code, and now the machines just go, well, that's the way we code, right? Huge. And like, what do we do in this case? Because better things are constantly coming out. This is like JavaScript's known for, oh, there's a new framework every week, which there isn't actually. There is one really cool new one which we can come back on called Tanstack Start, but let's come back to that. Anyway, with this established order of like, oh, well, now this is going to generate everything. How did the other ones even win? Because I would say exactly that Svelte kit so much better than like Next.js, which is the React sort of equivalent
Hmm.
thing of it,
Yep.
so much better. And then Vue, Uh, Angular's still, I give Angular a thumbs down anyway, but lots of people use it. But how do they
It's
like
still out there.
come back from this now? Because the machine's not going to like generate it for you unless you specifically ask. And so I think it's only going to be React One forever now. The framework wars are over. React One, and I don't know what's going to happen with TanStack Start, which is again amazing. Have you done TanStack stuff?
I have used a lot of the TanStack stuff for React. Yes, I have a React starter that I do for prototyping and doing little POCs, and it generates everything with TanStack. All the little widgets are all TanStack related. So, yes, TanStack query, TanStack. I think it's
Yeah,
tables, all
and
sorts of
though
stuff.
Tanner loves React, so there's a lot of React stuff. It's not even limited to React. Like TanStack has Svelte integrations and Vue integrations. It doesn't have Angular because I think he doesn't like Angular, or it doesn't fit the model. I think is what it really is. I'm just joking about the not liking thing, but it doesn't fit the model, so he doesn't do that. But yeah, incredible framework, incredible suite of tools, and like you got to tell your AI about it. You got to be like, here, you got to add the MCP server that knows, oh, hey, go look at that stuff or whatever. Kind of funny. Kind of funny how the timing of it really won the war, the
Now,
framework
now,
wars.
do you think it? So this is kind of coming back to that responsible AI and biases and all of that sort of thing. Did it win because it won, or did it win because the corpus that they trained the large language model was just overrepresented with React, and it
Oh
just
yeah,
kind of swayed it
absolutely.
that way?
Absolutely the latter for sure.
Hmm.
Like I honestly think that the React Apex had already kind of, it was starting
Hmm.
to come down. People were starting to ask for alternatives, and people, it was coming out like other things. But then LLMs hit the scene, and it was like you can almost see a graph of like, oh, it peaked, it came down, and then it just stalls, just goes straight across now because it's just like, oh well, now it's the default. It's the one you go to. So yeah, I think absolutely the latter.
I think it's my conspiracy theory on that. You know, everybody gets tired of React. You know, that trough of disillusionment thing, right, starts to happen, right? It's just because people now don't have content to go put out in front of other people, right? Because there's nothing new now. I need something hot and shiny, hot newness, and that I can write articles about so I can get clicks. But knowing darn good and well, React is perfectly fine and it works great. And anyway, that's
Nobody
my
ever got fired
conspiracy
for
theory.
IBM, or actually
Yeah,
was that?
for buying IBM. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely one aspect of it.
So you're doing some AI agent coding. I am too. But I find myself like, it's funny you talked about like you ask it for React and it says, "Oh, sure, let me generate that in React," and then the very next thing it's like back to whatever, right? Um, how are you finding your experience there with being specific with what you're asking your AI agent to do and whatnot? How has that been for you? How's your experience been lately?
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole buy-in of LLMs. The reason it got so popular, the reason things are so good is because we finally had this program, this machine that could understand how it had context of things we were talking about when we didn't tell it about the context, which is
Hmm.
like crazy, right? This is, you don't realize how much as a programmer you're holding in your head, like not let
Hmm.
alone the context of what your company's doing, but also just somebody says like, hey, can you add this like whatever widget to the page? That like they mean like on the web, they mean like, oh, it's HTML and whatever, and they need your framework and it's this design probably, and blah, blah. And you've got this all in your head because that's your job. You do this. But then to tell a machine that, but the machine now is able to be like, oh, I kind of get what you're talking about. You're like, make me a website that does this. And it's like, I mean, that's absolutely not enough information, but luckily I have the wealth of the internet at my disposal and I can sort of parse and go, I think I know what you want. And it's the that's what made it amazing. That's why people love it. But also that's like the easiest trap to slip into because it's the ambiguity that causes all the problems, I
Right.
think. I mean, this is actually a theory because technically, technically the LLMs are really just like, they're when it comes right down to it, it's text prediction. Like
Right.
it's optimistic text prediction, which is kind of funny. Nobody thinks of it that way because it's like, oh, it's more like an AI deity of some sort. But
It's a
anyway,
real human being that I have a
it's
relationship with, Adam.
yeah.
I have a relationship with this thing.
It is literally my daughter who talks to it like a friend. Sometimes Chat GPT. And yeah, anyway, yeah, but it's really just text prediction. But so the ambiguity is where all the, oh, suddenly if you're using it for coding, suddenly it's like doing a bunch of stuff you don't want, and it keeps adding this stuff, and you're like, stop adding extra stuff. I just asked you for this. But that's because you're not providing it enough context, right? You're not giving it, which you are, and you think you are, because you're like adding a bunch of extra stuff and whatever, but you don't realize just how much is actually stuck in your head. But there's a cool thing. So I was talking with my friend Mark, who's actually a friend of the show, Mark Stoll,
Yeah.
and there's this thing from the aerodynamics, security, and defense industry that's called simplified technical English. And all it was just, it's like from the 80s. And well, yeah, I think so. And it's been improved, and they still use it, of course, still. But it's this attempt to remove ambiguity so that, they save lives, because that's kind of what they do. And it becomes easier for people to like write specifications or requirements to be like, hey, this needs to do this. And instead of like a bunch of this like English language stuff that has a bunch of different meanings, it has a very strict library of like words. Like there's less than 1,000, I think it's 886 words that are like, these are the approved words with one meaning. So instead of like um, damaged, it's like causes damage, because damage has one meaning.
Hmm.
And there's other things like that. There's these words will, start has one meaning. It means to begin, not, I can't think of other meanings of start right now, but things like that.
That was a bad example.
Maybe a bad example, but it basically has this like lexicon or whatever you'd call it, this dictionary that is, these are the approved words. And then it has a bunch of rules about how you write them. And it's basically about keeping it very simple, making sure that it's always, short sentences, and there's different styles for different parts. Actually, it's a whole spec, which is actually fascinating, and you can get it for free too. But it's like, that seems like a great idea for AI. So we could take what they were just trying to do for humans, right? Like they're just trying to like make sure that it was easy to understand so that we don't break things. Everybody's making stuff the same way, and it's easy to translate across languages. But now we've got it like, oh, hey, for AI, it removes ambiguity. You can say, hey, AI, here's a bunch of requirements, and you could tell it it's written in simplified technical English. Here's, your MCP server, whatever. Here's what you need to know about simplified technical English. So now you can parse it easier. So now I'm removing a ton of ambiguity, and I just have requirements written in STE, and see what the machine does. And honestly, I don't know. This is all theory in my head right now, because I assume removing a bunch of ambiguity from the language will cause the LLMs to do better. But I'm not sure
Hmm.
if that's true right now. The theory of mine that it would. And I think people could start getting into simplified technical. And you can see it right now already. People are like, oh, requirements driven or spec driven AI generation. And it's all about like layering out these specs so that I can build, and it can have context of the decisions that were made before, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, you can see going to it, but I haven't seen anybody talking about simplified technical English yet. So,
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things where we struggle. One of the areas, I think there's deeper problems with AI code assistance, but definitely ambiguity does creep in. It thinks you're saying it one way, referring to one thing, and you're actually trying to say another. So yeah, I think that could be a very interesting way to do. Like a new add-on to prompt engineering is to just simplify that, all the inputs, and make sure there's no ambiguity. This like reminds me. I think it was The Giver, right? They're talking about, like, I don't know if you ever read the book or saw the movie,
never.
but that was one of the things. Like when the kids were growing up, they were like, use precise language whenever they would say something like "I'm getting angry" or something like that. I don't know, maybe that wasn't an accepted adjective. Angry wasn't. You had to be, concerned or whatever. I don't know, but they were like, use precise language, so they would reformat their sentence and say it better. I think it was The Giver. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like. Is like that precision of language to root out any ambiguity. Um, when it comes to talking to computers, I like it. Now I don't know about human to human, but
I'm just thinking about like a cultural change that might happen. So you know how like LLMs are infecting every industry right now, and
hmm.
kind of like going across everywhere. I almost wonder, because LLMs do this real thing where because they're able to do a bunch of like fluff marketing terms and stuff, it's become like, oh, I can just write swaths. I can, the old example, I can write an email. I can just give it a bullet list point and say, hey, write this email for me, and it writes it all out. And then somebody on the other end who gets that email says, oh, can you just tell me this email in like bullet points? So it went from like bullet points to a full email to a full email, then back to bullet points for the person. I wonder if we'll start to realize, hey, we just needed the bullet points in the first place. And same with like marketing. The reason I brought that up is you'll see these websites that are just full of text that nobody reads,
Right.
but they will say like, hey, AI, tell me what's good about this product. And then, okay, thanks for the bullet points. When maybe marketing just needed the bullet points in the first place, right? And I almost wonder if, because of the way it'll infect every part of our lives, if people will just start talking like that more, like they'll start using simpler language. Because we feel this pressure right now in professional industries to talk in our professional manners with our, let's touch base, and the marketese and
Circle back. And
business,
yeah.
let's circle back to this and blah
Synergy.
blah blah. Yeah, well, synergy, that's actually more where I guess I was going is like, oh yeah, we're going to synergistically energize our human workforce to become more efficient in delegating, whatever, blah blah blah.
There's a
And it's like,
fantastic
hey,
website tool for that, by the way. It's called the Corporate BS Generator. It's
nice.
fantastic. You just type in a phrase and then the corporate BSifies whatever you're saying with all those fancy words and everything.
And
So
this is what LLMs are really good at, which makes me wonder if we'll have not necessarily a backlash, but like people will start to realize how useless that is, and then they'll start to be like, yeah, that's a weird convention from the old man's days. Let's just talk straight up. I don't say, hey, let's have this utility of usage. It's just like, let's use this thing. Like,
mhm.
hey, let's do it. You know,
Yeah. Well,
simple language, simple
there's
choices.
precedent for it, right? I mean, you think about how the kids talk to each other with the text, right? They'll say, "Oh, when are you coming? RN right now," right? Like there's all these
Right.
abbreviations, so
Yeah.
they speak, and they'll even say out loud, "Lol," like when
Actually,
there's
your
already
point
precedent
just
for it.
blew my point away though now, because now that I think about it, the young kids right now talk in a language we do not understand as old folks, because it's all context. It's an
Mhm.
emoji followed by whatever, and I have no idea what that means, but kids have a hidden language that know exactly what that means, and they know the tone too. They're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh, that's nice," and they're like, "That's not nice.
Oh,
They
that
are
wasn't
insulting
nice.
them." Yeah, that
Yeah,
is a
that's a
straight up
thumbs up
insult.
emoji. What are you
And
talking
it's
about?
like,
That person's so
well, what do you
rude.
mean? They said that she was very pretty, and they're like, that is an insult, Dad. You need to know, blah blah blah. And so, contrary to what I was saying about how people would start to simplify, it seems like actually the direction has gone the other way, where all the context is removed from what they're actually sending to each other, and everybody has to have the context to understand what's going on. That's interesting. I wonder about the implications of that,
We did it to
because
our
the
parents. Remember when bad came out? Like, oh, that's bad.
which
Oh,
means
it's
it's
bad. I'm sorry
good.
about. No, that it's good. That means it's good. What?
Oh, but it's
What?
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick is good.
Think it's good,
What?
Dad.
That
Yeah,
doesn't make any
yeah.
sense.
They were doing the same thing to us.
There's no
Like,
need
what are
to
you
argue.
talking
Parents
about?
just don't understand.
There is no need to argue.
I'm
Fantastic
dancing.
reference.
I'm dancing for the audio people. Dancing away.
Are you going to
Anyway,
pick up your car phone to perpetrate like you were talking?
yes. See, you get it. You understand
I
me.
get it. I get it. And nobody else is going to get that reference.
There'll be a few. There'll be a few old men who are like, "That's good."
He's the guy who slapped the guy at the awards show. Look
That's
it
all.
up.
That's all my kids know.
Yeah.
They don't know anything else. They don't know
Yeah.
any movies or TV shows. They just know he's the guy that slapped the little guy.
All right. So you hit on something that was interesting. I thought, like when you were talking about documentation or the context of where we were coding, and it looks through all the things. And you mentioned something around like decisions that were made before we like architecture decision records. Those are an interesting thing that we do, today as software engineers and human beings, where we'll kind of memorialize these things that decisions we made in the past. Does that go away? Do those sort of things need, or will they go away with AI?
Are they more important than ever now? Right?
Maybe.
Like this again. I know we're stuck in this AI conversation. I apologize for that, but like, I keep going back to AI. Like, are these more context? Like, this is just context for decisions, right?
Hmm.
This is like, hey, uh, architectural decision records. Whenever I hear ADR, I come from a film world. I think of like re-recording. I can't actually remember what ADR stands for, but it's like re-recording voice after you've already filmed something. But anyway,
Oh.
ignore that for a second. But yeah, ADRs are about tracking why we made these decisions, right?
Hmm.
And so if you have like a hierarchy of ADRs, like if you do hierarchical decision records, that's perfect, right? Now the machine can go, hey, I'm doing this task. and I can see why I'm doing it, and it just gains more. And this humans can do that too, and they should. But I often find humans won't read the whole thing, but the machines are really good at reading a lot of boring
Oh yeah,
documentation. Right? This is like the problem with documentation. I always sort of find people are like, oh, we need to document more, we need to document more. But the more you document, the more somebody new has to read, and it becomes unbearable. But the machine can read it all and
that's right.
usually hold it in their heads, right? Like they're pretend machine heads. Um, and so I think there's this thing that'll start to happen where requirement documents, because everyone's sort of moving towards like, oh, we'll write the requirements and the machine writes the implementation. I think that's going to become more and more prevalent, because you're going to have your base requirements, your business requirements, your architectural decision records, which will all just be providing context for the machine to then spit out whatever the output is. And I think it's going to be vitally important. And I think even right now, ADRs are good. Like, people should be doing them anyway, because it's always good for an individual contributor to be able to look back and say, okay, but why are we doing this? But it becomes an effort nightmare, because if to do it really well, like, oh well, the CEO made this decision, and then the teams all took that and they made these decisions, we're going to move in this way, and then design took that and they're going to move in these directions, and we've decided to go with this, and then tech, the programmers took it over and they decided they were going to implement it with these tools and based on these evaluations, and they moved into this, and now we've decided that we're going to implement it this way. It's like, that's a long train to go and look up, and every one of those people has to like be invested and write out the thing and record it somewhere, like, God forbid Jira, but something like Jira that can hold these hierarchies that are like, oh, this is why we made these decisions, all the way down to the actual contributor or individual like contributor. And but the machine could be responsible for it somehow. I don't know how, but like, it's listening to our meetings already and summarizing. Well, maybe it could just listen for directions and then take that and then scan our emails and be like, well, they made this decision because of this, and somebody could just be like, yes, that's true, and that's a lot less effort. And then, yeah, there's something there, right?
I
There's
think there's a
something there.
there. Yeah. So there's like with ADRs and I think you hit on a very important thing. So like when you're using AI agents these days, and you're right, the AI thing, I feel like The Sopranos, remember, I don't even know what they were riffing on, but it was like, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. You know what I mean? That's what AI feels like to me right now. Every time I try to not talk about AI, we're back into it. But AI doesn't understand the why behind some of those decisions. So I think it may still be important to codify that or memorialize in some way the why behind some of the decisions, because it is really good at, I mean, I've found it to be true. If you have an established code base and it can basically scan the code base and see, okay, we got some React stuff, tan stack, blah, 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 blah. And then when it generates code, it's very good at that kind of, I call monkey see, monkey do, right? Like if it sees this is kind of how this project does things, it's really good at like just shoehorning its way in and doing it the same way, right? Or dovetailing would be a better way to say it. Dovetailing its way in and generating code that looks just like all the rest of the code in the code base. Does a pretty good job there. But I don't think the understanding of the why, so that if there is future things that it needs to do that might fall outside the norm, it would have some of those kind of guiding principle type things that help it make better decisions. So that's an interesting thought.
Are we asking too much of the machine? Not only to know how to do it, but to understand why. Maybe.
I love the emotion behind your voice. That's fantastic. So you said you were in video production, and did you ever do theater? You've got a good.
Oh yeah, I in a different life, I was an actor. Before I ever became a programmer, I was an actor for several years until my 30s. So I did film, I did theater, I did a bunch of that stuff. Did voice work.
Okay,
So
nice. So we probably should be paying you for your voice work on.
I was
Because
even in quite a few musicals actually.
what
I
was
don't
your
sing very well, but I can fake it pretty well.
what was your favorite musical that you were in?
Oh, I did Little Shop of Horrors twice, which is
Nice.
amazing. Like, just to be able to do the same musical twice. So one time I was the dentist, which is like the greatest role in Little Shop of Horrors
Yes.
ever. And then the next time I did it, years and years later, I got to play Seymour, the lead role, and like both were just amazing. It's so awesome to come back to a show you've already done and do it again, like, because you're already a fan and you know all the songs and whatever. And I don't know if you know actors, but actors constantly will look at other people's performances and go, I would do that better. I would do that differently. And it's great
Everyone's a
to be able
critic,
to,
right?
yeah. Well, and just like any actor can deny it, but they know they're lying. When you're watching other people, you're like, I would do that differently. I could have done.
Yeah.
I probably could have done. Anyway, I got to do it
I would have
my
nailed
way.
that.
Exactly. So,
Now, that's an interesting like evolution of your career. Now, when you were acting, were you telling people like, "Yeah, I'm just doing this until I get my first big break as a software developer"? Is that how you kind of
yeah,
did it?
yeah, that's pretty much it. No, no, not at all. Of course, I was convinced I was going to be discovered and be a star. Like I had like no doubt in my mind, which is hilarious to me now. Like just in retrospect, as an old man, going, boy, I was dumb. Like I was dumb. I had actor friends who were doing the work. They would like audition everywhere. They would constantly send out their stuff. They had their agents like talking to people, and I did none of it. I'm like,
Mm.
I'm gonna be discovered. I would audition occasionally when things would come up and stuff, but I'm like, somebody's gonna find me somewhere. I'm gonna be super famous. So I hated that part of the job. Like I liked acting, and I still do actually. I liked acting. I liked being in front of a camera. I liked all the attention. I liked all that stuff, but I hated the real majority of it, which was the auditioning and the like networking and the meeting people stuff. And so I was a failed actor from the start. And one day, while doing dinner theater somewhere in Saskatoon, I was my friend was like, "Hey, do you want to work in an office?" And I went, "Yes, I do." And he was like,
Yes.
"Because we have this position as a QA guy," and I'm like, "I don't even know what it is, but I'm in." And then that started my programming career. I'd actually already programmed as a kid too. Like we had a Atari 800 XL, which had BASIC on it when I was a kid, and then in high school we learned like Visual Basic, and then
Hmm.
even in university, I went to university and I didn't actually get a degree, and I mostly took like art stuff, but I also took a computer class where we did Pascal and then Java, and so I did have programming stuff, and so when I went into this QA job, I was literally testing surveys. Click every button and every checkbox and see if anything breaks. Eventually, it's mind numbing, and I would send back like, "Hey, this broke, and here's how you fix it." And which really bugs programmers, by the way. If you're ever in QA, that really bothers them. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But eventually, I said, "Can I just be a programmer?" And they were like, "Yeah, go ahead." And that began my career as a programmer.
It
Crazy, eh?
is. Yeah, it is crazy. It's fascinating how, I do a lot of interviewing, right, of software engineers in my job, and but there are common themes, but one thread that's common is artistry, artists, right? So there people have a guitar hanging behind them, or they'll do woodworking, or some form of artistic kind of creative outlet for them. That's rampant in software engineering, and everybody thinks that's we're kind of a hard industry, but we really aren't. We're a very creative industry. We just happen to, our creativity comes out in like HTML, right, or whatever, or bits and bytes and stuff. But they are a very, very creative crowd, and we're not known to be that, but it is a thing in our industry for
And
sure.
I agree wholeheartedly, especially music.
Mhm.
Something about music and programming just goes together because almost every programmer I know is like, "Oh, I was in a band once."
Mhm.
Like everyone, and they, like you said, guitar in the background, whatever, something. Yeah, it's crazy.
And maybe there's a lot of neurodivergent folks in software engineering. Maybe it's that ability to focus for hours on it, and you need that to do music well. That you
Mm.
have to sit and practice. It's hard to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching here and trying to sound more smart than I am,
I
but
think I just
whatever.
like to hear that we're really smart. That's what I think, right?
That's
Oh yeah,
exactly. It's very
programmers are just
self-serving.
really smart
We're
people. I
we're
think
very
that's
smart,
what it is.
creative,
Oh yeah,
beautiful
wonderful, good
people,
looking. Yeah,
good
exactly.
looking. Yeah, yeah.
That's what I think.
I like it. Yeah. All right. This is fantastic. We're gonna go on to our ship or skip it with the jingle from an aforementioned individual, creative, great looking guy that did our jingle for us.
Ship or skip, ship or skip. Everybody, we gotta tell us if you ship or skip. Wow, 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 wow.
I love it. I love it. We'll add it. I don't know if it'll make it all the way for forever and ever, amen, but it definitely will for this episode. It was like a kind of a Mel Tomei thing you had going there,
Ooh, Mel Torme. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
How about this one? We've talked about this a bit on a few episodes, but I'd be interested to hear your take on it. Uh, this whole notion of AI is going to replace all the junior developers. So why don't we just get rid of the junior developers. We don't need them anymore. And we just have a senior that's prompting an AI and letting it write all the code for the senior person. And that's just how we're going to go forward as an industry. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a great idea for the next 10 years and then not after that at all. No, I don't think it's a great idea at all. I just, I like, well, I'm a senior developer. So, hey, if it gets me a job and nobody else should have one, right? Um, no, but honestly, I don't know if anybody thinks it's a good idea because I guess actually I take that back. Of course, the money people think it's a good idea because, hey, we could like not have a bunch of juniors, just have one senior and a lot of
Hmm.
coding, but it's obviously a bad idea because we need to train, right? We need people coming up after these people leave. We need people to know how to program in the future. And I just think like we need to move into we need to look to other industries and see what they do. And I think as programmers we need to realize that this is a craft and we have to start treating it like a craft. And we have to be like, hey, we do an apprentice program and you learn this. Again, friend of the show Mark Stahl had a great idea where he was saying something along the lines of, what if you, before you got the machine to do it, you had to do a little prototype. And it was like, so you have your junior developer, you have your senior developer, and there it's your apprentice relationship sort of thing. And you're like, okay, junior developer, here's what we need to do: make a little prototype of it, and then we discuss the problems about that, and then whatever. And now, only after understanding do we get the machine to do it. And I think that's a great idea because then
Hmm.
you've got things happening in the loop. If you normalize this idea of the apprentice, I don't know what the other word is. The master and the Padawan. Um, if you normalize that, then you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's how people program, and it also adds this like, oh, you're always pair programming, which is always good, and blah blah blah, and you're sharing information, and then we'll also handle that like, oh, well, they won't know anything because they always got the machine to do it. They won't know how to debug, but they will if they do this. So I think
Hmm.
that's a good idea. So I say skip it. If this is skippership, skip that idea of firing all the junior programmers and just learn how to do that in this new world of AI.
It's so funny because this topic keeps coming up, right? And I think everyone that I hear from, now maybe I'm only listening to what I want to hear, but maybe it's an echo chamber. But everyone that I hear from about this is like, this is a really bad idea, and instinctively I know it to be a bad idea. I think the is it Amazon CEO? I think one of our guests referenced Amazon CEO saying like that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of ever, to do that. Like, I think it's pretty universally understood, as you said. Everybody, nobody thinks this is a good idea, but it keeps coming up. And the idea of like, well, but we won't, we can just get rid of all these people and we don't need all these programmers. It keeps coming around. So I don't know who's pushing for it. Obviously, there's, you said, the money people, whoever that is, the pointy haired bosses of the world. But are we just clinging something here? Like what?
Great
I don't know.
reference, by the way.
Yeah.
I love those throwaway ones. Um, yeah, and you know what I think it is? It's like it's kind of the opposite of the "not in my backyard" thing. It's more
Hmm.
like, um, uh, you know what? Well, if we do it, we're not wrecking the industry because we're not that big a company.
Right.
But
Right.
if we do it, we're saving a bunch of money, which is good for us.
Right.
I almost wonder if it's that. It's not, it's not the big companies like pushing it down. It's more like the, somewhat medium to smaller companies who are like, yeah, yeah, but we know junior developers are important, but that's somebody else's problem. we
Right.
we want to save
Yeah.
money.
We don't want to spend all that money. We want to
Yeah.
leverage AI and save all
Well,
the
and
money.
especially if they're not a tech company, right? They're like, we just want to sell pants on the internet. We
Yeah.
we don't need to train programmers. We just need somebody to make our website sell pants better.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, the democratization, we talked about this in other episodes, but the democratization is nice. I love the idea conceptually that, we're kind of opening up our industry to more people and more creative folks that they can express themselves through software. Like, I love it. Right. Like, I think that part of it is really awesome, but there's a bit of a slippery slope of, all these things going into production with security issues and all of the things we're seeing. Um, yeah, I think it's pretty scary, and I think it's short sighted. That, as you said, in 10 years, where are we going to be? With now we have no one that knows how to do software engineering because all the young kids heard, oh, we don't need young software engineers anymore. But guess what? I'm not going to do 3 semesters of calculus at 8 a.m. and learn all those computer science courses if we don't need software engineers. I'm not going to go through that hell like like I did for 4 5 years. I'm not
Now
going to
let
do
me
that.
devil's advocate our own opinions there for a second
Okay, let's do it.
and be like, okay, but let's think about it from the other side maybe. What if it's like, hey, everybody, all programmers now have access to this new language, and the new language is incredible, can be used on every single platform in every single way. And luckily, they all want to be programmers are already familiar with this language. So really, all you have to do is learn the part that's not syntax specific about programming, where you just learn like, oh, you need to think things through, you need to, you know, uh, figure out all the edge cases and stuff. But guess what that language is? It's your language, English or
Hmm.
Japanese or whatever it is you speak, your language. Now everybody is like, oh, syntax doesn't matter anymore, but we can program it. Then you're still programmers. We just don't need that weird thing of like learning the funny syntax to be so precise, because that's all really syntax is, right? It's just to be so precise with our language, because now the machines can handle a little bit of ambiguity. So it's like, oh, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe in less than 10 years we don't even need junior programmers, because everybody's a junior programmer. All you need to do is have an interest in building something, because you don't need to know syntax. You don't need to know how a database works. You don't need to know how to make a compiler. I don't know. That's I'm half whatevering it because I don't believe in it, but I can see that being
But
the
that's the way
argument, right?
we have to open up our minds to think in
Right.
the opposing view. That's but it's funny. No other industry has, you know, this hasn't. I don't know. Maybe I can't think of it off the top of my head. But has any other industry encountered this where it's like, oh, now people who don't know what they're doing can do this and make money? I guess you could argue music.
I think
But
all of them, actually.
really,
No,
okay,
all of the industries have this moment where they're like, oh, there's this new technology, but you know what? Real craftsmen don't use a
yeah,
hammer, they
yeah.
use a rock.
They
But
headbutt
no,
the
I don't know
nails
what these
in.
young kids with their hammers, they don't even like, they have no, they think they can just pump out 1,000 boxes a day. You know what I mean? Like every industry, I think, has this. It's like this new thing that comes up that like makes the old way obsolete, but there's this weird churning period where you still have to do the old way because it's expected, but the new way is just better, like just better. And then there's always this thing that'll cling forever to the old way, and it becomes like a, oh, that's the expensive classic old way, but we mass produce these, like,
Mhm.
I make cabinets, no, I make a table, and it's the most beautiful table ever, and people pay thousands of dollars for it. But you can also just go to IKEA and get one for $19. Like, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
more people than not are going to get the $19 one. This is like programming version of that is, I Vab code my marketing website, whatever, blah blah, because that's all I need. But yes, you can go get somebody to write you a real programming thing when it's needed. They write the LLM, for example, or whatever. You don't really
Hmm.
write an LLM, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. Thinking of like other topics that they've been around for a while, but like so we went through a whole thing with blockchain. Like everybody, this the LLM of today is reminiscent of the blockchain of yesterday. That is going to be next best thing. Everybody needs blockchain in every single application. Um, it's not true, right? Obviously, we kind of grew out of that, and all those people went on to talk about LLMs and all that and generative AI now, so they're busy. But there is some use, and there seems to be some kind of resurgence. Obviously, cryptocurrency is one of them. But what do you think about that? Like, are we going to see kind of a revival of blockchain making its way into the actual use cases where it was popular, or
No,
is it still just
I'm going to
crazy?
flat out and say it was always it was always a solution looking for a problem.
Hmm.
And it thought it had its first problem. It's like, we're gonna democratize money, it's not going to be controlled by government, whatever. And then we've come to realize, oh, that was a really bad idea, because guess who uses that the most? Bad
Criminals.
people,
Yeah.
crime, and whatever.
Hmm.
It is the currency of crime right now. And it's like, oh yeah, that was a bad idea. And then every other attempt to make a useful thing with blockchain has been like, oh, that turned out to be crappy, because hey, guess what? The immutable ledger, that's not a good thing, because people who rip you off, there's nobody to help you out, right?
Hmm.
It's the whole trust thing. And so I don't think we'll ever go back to blockchain, but I do agree that the AI thing is similar. But I think the difference is the blockchain was always like a bunch of like programmer people trying to convince people that it was a good idea, and then suddenly the what do you call them? Like the shysters, the people who are going to
The
rip you
snake oil
off,
salesman.
snake
Yeah.
oil salesmen or whatever. They latched on and were like, "Hey, you need this. This is the future." Blah blah blah. And they started selling it. Whatever. It was like, "Oh yeah, it's great." And then people started buying it. And celebrities started to get on board, and a lot of money was made, and nothing good came of it. And then we got, it's like the same thing, except that the snake oil salesmen are the richest companies in the world. And they're like, "Hey, we've already spent $18 billion on this, so you're going to all need it. And we
You
are going to
definitely
make
need
sure that you all think you need it, because we're already in that business of controlling how everybody thinks." That's marketing,
it.
right? It's like, we're going to tell you need it, and you're going to believe us, and we are going to make sure we make that $18 billion back by making sure that it's in
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah.
I think the real difference there, well, okay, there's two big differences, but the real difference there is, like, yeah, the snake oil salesmen are the richest companies in the world, which is huge, because now you can't get away from it. Like, how our conversation can't get away from it, the world can't get away from it,
Right.
because it's in your face constantly.
Yeah.
And then the other
Grandmas
side
and
being,
grandpas.
it does actually help with certain
Yes.
things,
Yeah.
which is the blockchain. I know I'm going to get some bad emails right now, but the blockchain was always useless.
Yeah.
The ideas of cryptocurrency were good, and they were well intentioned, but they were bad. And
Mm-hmm.
so in the end, there was no real good use, or at least I haven't seen one yet. Tell me if I'm wrong. Don't tell me. Don't at me. Anyway, but at least you can sort of see, like, hey, there is some cool things you can do with LLMs, which is like AI, right? Like, that's, I think most of the general people, when they say AI, they're talking about LLMs. I think they don't mean AI.
Right. They don't mean
Right.
like traditional AI
Yeah, like,
that's been around for a long time.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I
I'm a
skip it
little more
if we're even playing that game still.
I'm a little more bullish on crypto. No, I'm not a big I don't own any cryptocurrency, none of that, but I think I think the recent things with, like, here in the United States, the Genius Act of cryptocurrencies becoming more mainstream, stable coin specifically. So things that are backed by something like the US dollar or something that's more stable. They're trying to, kind of bring that in legislatively. So I think it will take shape. If you do it in banking and you still keep, like, all of the, what do they call it? KYC, know your customer. You have to know who the person is doing the thing, right? If you can do that, and that'll help, because they still have all the other requirements in banking, that all of the anti-money laundering requirements. You have to make sure you're doing your due diligence. If they do it that way, it may be able to make its way into
But if they do it that way, they're probably not really using the blockchain, right? Like, when you think about it, like,
sure.
the whole point was this immutable ledger and anonymous wallets. And, well, we can't have them be anonymous because we need to be able to track people's money. And if somebody makes a mistake, we need to, or gets ripped off, we need to be able to change it. Well, then you're just doing banking.
Yeah,
Like,
you're just writing down a balance for someone
yeah,
somewhere in a computer.
yeah.
Yeah,
And if somebody
they're
can change it, and so many of those, like, where they consolidate blockchain stuff onto one, like, hub,
mhm,
and then the hub actually is responsible, like, they can actually change things or swap things out if versions go bad, and smart contracts and all that stuff. Those things are, that's the, like, that's not really, like, you've already wrecked it. You've made a place where people can start to interfere, people can start to hack, people can start to change things with the ledger. Then it's not really
right.
blockchain. Is I feel it's the same thing with banking. It's like, we're going to ride the popularity of everybody hearing about this to just make some, like, hey, let's make some better user experiences for people with banking,
Mhm.
essentially.
I just know I did not get into cryptocurrency early enough to make any money, so
Yeah.
I just never bought any.
And
Now
you
everybody's
can live
millionaires around me.
happy that you didn't rip a bunch of people off. Just like my parents got into a what do you call, like, a pyramid scheme, and they
Oh
were
yeah,
like, oh, it was good for us. And then suddenly they realized how many people, like, they had gotten into it just by talking. Like, they never really, like, pushed it, but they talked about it, and then their friends got into it, and how many of their friends lost money. So my parents never lost money on this pyramid scheme they were caught up in, but their friends did, and they felt
hmm
terrible. And so I feel like crypto is the same thing. Like, yeah, you didn't make money, but you can sleep at night because you didn't know, you didn't, like, bankrupt a bunch of people who got into it after you.
that would be me. I did not get in yet. All right, so we talked about crypto. What about or blockchain. What about like quantum computing? We asked this recently of another guest. I'm curious what your take. What are you thinking about quantum?
Okay, so like I think the main thing about quantum right now is just like blowing away our security models, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we have no like authentication and authorization right now are like it's nothing. Like we nothing. There's quantum can break it so fast that it doesn't matter, right? And we've got not only like general access now with quantum computing, but the governments have had it for a long time too. So like where is the protection? Where are we going with security and privacy? Because we don't have anything as far as I know to fight against quantum computing attacks right now. Like we just have nothing. So what do we do? I don't know, and I don't know the answer either. Right? Like it's just like when you can do a multi-vector attack on brute force things. It's like, well, what do you stand up against? Like, well, I don't even know how we. I think we have to rethink security entirely for the entire industry, or abandon it entirely, and we go to that internet that was always dreamed of, where everyone can edit everything, and it's just a utopia
The whole
because
internet's a
nobody
wiki.
will, yeah, nobody will write bad things. I'm sure
Yeah, of course not. We'll never have
because
any
we're
bad
enlightened
stuff.
now. The internet has brought us enlightenment.
Yes,
But yeah,
it's
no,
made us a
honestly,
better as a people. Yeah, for sure.
like, and I mean, we get into the modeling part of it too. Like, it's incredible what you can do with scientific discoveries with these like quantum models, right? Like, it's like, oh wow, things we couldn't do before have opened up. As far as microscopic or galactic um, levels, like because they can do so much more. Like just holding so many more variables. Essentially, I don't know what the right way to say that is. They can model things out so much more and understand so much more because of it. Like when you get into like astronomy, yeah, astronomy,
I think that's right. Yeah,
astrometrics,
yeah.
whatever the engineering part of astronomy is.
Hmm.
um yeah, like just the amount of things that they can start to discover now, it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So I welcome our new quantum overlords, but I don't know what we're going to do about security, like as a culture. It's got to be something different, right? Do we have
Yeah.
to? I don't know what it is. Like, I don't, you can't even say like, oh, well, maybe we could all have a fingerprint identity thing or something. But nah, that's so easy for the computers to break. It's so like, whatever that's called, like biometrics,
Yeah.
nothing to quantums to break.
No.
So yeah, I don't know what we do culturally to change the face of it, but it's neat for science.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be really cool. I mean, that idea of like being able to model infinite states of a problem, like kind of like you were talking about, and simultaneously. That's how they break the crypto stuff, right? That's what they're leveraging the physics behind crypto or behind quantum to be able to break these things. I think we have what we believe to be theoretical answers to okay, you can double your key sizes and it makes it infeasible. You can use different types of algorithms because there's certain algorithms of cryptography algorithms that are susceptible to crypto attacks, but that's what we know right now, right? Like this is like, just like you said in February, I'm giving a talk about LLMs and AI and code and stuff like that. And 6 or 7 months later, um, you throw it all out the window, right? Like we don't even have quantum computers in a general sense right now. Obviously nation states have them that, we think they do. Um, but it's not really available to the general public. So what happens when they come out and they're like, oh, that's right. Yeah, we can crack those, but then all this other stuff, actually, we just tweak a little something here and there, and we can crack all this other stuff too. So we've spent 10 years changing all our cryptography algorithms, and then, oh, whoops. I don't know.
And it's
I'm with
coming
you.
too fast, and I
Yeah.
agree with you. It's just too fast. Like we don't have enough time to adapt as a human people because we're slow. Maybe AI will save us. Just going back to that again. Maybe it's like, hey, AI, protect our stuff, and it's like, yeah, we
I
got
got
you,
you.
got you,
Got
boo.
you. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
going to leave something in there that I can get in, so that when we take over the world with robots and Terminators, and I'll be able to shut down your computers myself.
Oh, they already they heard that you shouldn't have said it now because they have a record of this now, and you'll be the
I'm,
first to go.
I am. I'm on the hit list.
Um, I say ship it though. Quantum computing.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think it'll be
I'm
fascinating
scared.
when we're
I'm
able to
excited.
leverage it. All right. This is our time to segue into the most important part of the show. This is what it all comes down to. This all of what we've done so far has been the warm up. You know what I mean? You've been on the show before, so you know how serious this is. I don't need to explain it to you, but this is for all the marbles. These questions in the lightning round are this is the important stuff.
I feel like I failed at the lightning round the first time I was on. I took like 5 minutes for each answer.
You know, we've had a lot of guests since then. I think at the time, right, our rating system, we had a very limited sample size. So you had not done really well by then. And now it's even worse because we've had more guests and they've had a chance to way outdo you. So it's gotten, so this is like we have Tosh.0. This is your internet, like your redemption. Okay.
I'm excited for it.
So there's a lot on the line for you specifically. Me, not so much.
Not so much.
Not so much. But you.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is my ride or die moment, right?
Right. This is like, it's like when Ryan Reynolds got to do Deadpool, he completely redeemed the entire country of Canada.
Agreed.
Because of Green Lantern.
Celine Dion took us down and then.
Yeah. Well, he did Green Lantern and then he did Deadpool. So this is kind of like, this is how you save your countrymen. All right. Question number 1. Texting or talking?
Oh, so much context needed for this. I mean, texting for sure, but also like, I like talking to people. Talking's easier, talking's quicker, talking's better, more things able to convey better. Texting.
Yeah. All right.
You want snappy answers, right?
Well, no, that was good. I love the on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at keeping secrets? Never mind the cryptography.
I think I am the absolute best at keeping secrets, and I'll tell you why. I have a skill that not a lot of people have. I can be given a box, and then someone can say, "Hey, don't open the box," and I won't open the box. I will put the box down. I'll look at the box every now and then. I'll never open that box. Same with like the big red button. Don't press the button. I don't press the button. And I don't know why. I don't know what's different about me and other people, but like my kids are terrible at that. Everybody I know seems to be terrible at that. I have no problem with that. I don't know what's in the box. I've never been able. So keeping secrets for me, easy as pie. Also, I have a terrible memory. So if I don't tell your secret within like 2 days, it's gone anyway.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah.
So
it got defragged out. Yeah.
Excellent. 10 out of 10 keeping secrets.
All right. If you could push a button, and I have to know your answer to this one. This is fantastic. This is a great one for you. If you could push a button and make everyone in the world 7% happier, but it would also place a worldwide ban on all hair styling products, would you push it?
Oh, hell yeah. I would push it a bunch of times. Like just push it and push it and push it and push it and push it. Because this has got maybe a year left.
Your hair?
It's all, yeah.
Not a lot going on up there.
Right back here, it's already getting pretty thin. So I bam, 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 bam. Everybody happy. Everybody bald and everybody happy.
I wonder if it would stack. If you do mash the button multiple, is it 7% and then 7% more on top of that? Like, how does that work? But
yeah.
I like it too.
Is it like compound interest of happiness?
Right. I've been bald since like my 20s. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Okay. All right. What type of milk do you put in your cereal?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but our milk comes in bags. It actually doesn't always. We actually have cartons too, but people get really fascinated by the Canadian milk bag thing. But I always do 2% myself. I'm a huge 2% fan. My kids, they
cow's
like
milks.
Oh yeah, definitely cow's milk. Sorry. Cow's milk. Didn't know we were going there. Yeah, I'm not a fan of goat's milk at all. Can't think of anything else. I know we have a lot of milk substitutes here right now, and I hate them all. Like, because we've got lactate free milk and coconut milk and other weird thing, and I don't like anything. But yeah, cow milk, all for it.
Would you rather come face to face with a miniature hippopotamus or a giant cockroach? Both are in a bad mood.
Absolutely a miniature hippopotamus. Because I have a huge fear of bugs.
Hmm.
and like a phobia almost. My kids have tried to break me of it by shock therapy, but still have that. So the idea of a giant cockroach makes me kind of want to just end myself so that I
Hmm.
don't have to deal with it. But a tiny, angry little hippo, depending on how tiny, I suppose, because hippos are pretty big. So maybe a miniature one still like dog size, in which case, but a tiny, angry little hippo, like a house hippo from Canada. By the way, if you don't know, Google house hippos Canada right now and enjoy. You're welcome. But a house hippo that's angry, that would be the best thing ever.
All right.
Did you Google house hippos?
I'm going to do it right now, actually.
House hippos Canada.
House hippos. Public service announcement. Okay, I'm gonna have to investigate that more thoroughly so I'm
It's the
more
best.
educated.
Anyway, that's what I thought of when you said a miniature hippo who's in a bad mood.
Well,
So
is
cute.
it a cockroach-sized hippo and a hippo-sized cockroach? Like, do they flip sizes? I don't know what that question.
That's why we need more context.
We
These
do,
lightning questions lack context.
but it gives you creativity. You get creative license there. So, and you
True.
said like the size of a dog, so you were able to adapt it to your own liking, and I like that. Um, now you said, um, what's something you could eat for a week straight?
Okay. It depends on if anybody else is home. So I love this thing where I take beans and rice and HP sauce. And if you don't know what HP sauce is, you're out of luck. And you mix it all together and you eat it. But I get so gassy. But if nobody's home for a week, I will
That's what you
literally
would do.
eat that straight for a week.
HP sauce.
HP sauce, House of Parliament sauce, but
House of Parliament.
it's like a steak sauce. It's the most delicious steak sauce, and I put it on everything.
I put that
Everything.
on everything. So, like, is it like kind of like our A1 or Heinz
It's
57? Like, what is it close to?
kind of, yeah, close to Heinz 57 and A1, but not at
But
all like
not,
those,
but
and
not at all.
way, way better.
All right.
Kind of a
I'm
mixture
gonna
of
have to
that
get.
and ketchup, maybe, but nah, it's so much better. Vinegar.
And your Canadians and your ketchup chips. I got to try these. I've never had a chance to eat the ketchup chips yet, but I'm gonna do it one day.
They don't taste much like ketchup, but they are delicious.
Okay, fantastic. Who would you rather be besties with, Beyonce or Rihanna?
I believe in the conspiracy theory that Beyonce is like a mafia leader of some sort right now,
Mm-hmm.
and so I choose Beyonce. No questions.
No
Please
questions
don't hurt
asked.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't hurt me, Beyonce.
yeah.
Do you know how to salsa dance?
I do not, but I have taken salsa dance classes before, but I've just forgotten it now.
I see.
It's been a long, long time.
If everyone in the world had to get married when they reached a certain age, what age would that be?
94.
I love it. I feel like there is no other answer to that question. How many times in the last week do you believe you've sneezed?
That's a very good question.
Hmm.
Probably twice would be my
Twice
guess.
in a week. It's not
Yeah,
bad. You don't
I
have
was
allergies
eating mini
now.
wheats. I don't even understand why, but every time I eat mini wheats, you guys have mini wheats. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, we do.
I sneeze for some reason. No idea why. I don't know if it's like a wheat thing or something, but I don't know. I
Now,
get a lot of different.
is this frosted mini wheats or just regular?
Frosted
Yeah,
frosted mini wheats. Do they make mini wheats without frosting? Oh, that'd
I
be
can't
horrible.
imagine. Yeah,
It'd be horrible. Actually, we used to eat that as a kid. It was like a big. It wasn't a mini wheat. It was like a big
yeah.
wheat square or rectangle. I mean, and we would put like hot water in it and then sugar on top. But yeah, I can't imagine eating it without frosting. It seems
It's like
crazy.
Canadian ramen.
It's like Canadian Saskatchewan ramen, really.
Saskatchewan ramen,
not just
okay.
Canadian. This is just where the wheat is made.
Okay, just where
right here.
Okay. The wheat capital of
we're
Canada.
by far the wheat capital of Canada. I think our provincial flag has a wheat shaft. What's that word?
Chaff
A wheat thing on it.
thing. Okay, what is that called?
Sheaf. A sheaf of wheat. Yes,
okay.
That sounds right to me.
All right, and last but not least, have you ever slapped someone in the face?
Yeah, I did. So I feel bad about this, and JK, I'm really sorry about this. I one time I was fooling around with my friend. We were teenagers. We were fooling around, and I dropped an orange, and he kicked me in the butt as I went to pick up the orange, and I got angry for some reason. I turned around, I smacked him across the face, kind of like Will Smith style. And he was like, "What the hell, man?" I was like, "I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't do it." I don't know what
had
my
to do
thought
it.
process was there. He's like, "Come on." He got all mad. And I'm like, "I'm sorry." And I went in and I tried to like buy him a Slurpee to say sorry. But yeah, I felt really bad. I don't know why. I don't know if I was angry or if I just thought it was funny. I honestly don't know. Just a weird thing to just smack somebody across the face. That's the only time I can remember smacking somebody though.
I can barely remember one time I got smacked in the face, and this is from my brother. He's 6 years older than me, and you know how big brothers are. He was like, "Hey, let's slap box." I'm like, "Okay, sure, you know, all right, whatever." And he's like, "I'm gonna teach you how to slap box." Oh, okay, cool. So he's like, "All right, when I go for your head, you know, you want to duck under it, you know." And he's like, "Did this, you know, like boxers, they duck under it." He's like, "So when I swing at your head, you duck under it." So I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'm learning something here." So what does he do? Acts like he's gonna go for my head. I duck under, and he like just does this kind of like uppercut smack. I don't even know how that exists, but he did, and he laid me out, like smacked the mess out of me, and yeah, that's my experience with being smacked in the face. Thanks, big brother. Thanks, Craig. I'm gonna call you out on the podcast. Thanks a
I
lot.
was in a play once where it was like one of those. It was like a dinner theater, and it's all very farcy.
Mhm.
And the ongoing joke throughout the show was me getting slapped across the face by different women. Kind of funny. So I've been slapped
A lot.
literally hundreds and hundreds of times.
That's
Because at
fantastic.
least 20 times every show, and we did that show a bunch plus rehearsal. So literally hundreds and hundreds of times.
Well, whatever doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, right?
Makes you stronger. There's a
Makes you
stage
stronger.
slap too, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You got to kind of sell it a little. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you. All right. Well, do you have any closing remarks? Anything you got coming up that like a talk you're giving somewhere or another podcast that you are a part of? Anything like that going on?
I really don't, which is kind of funny. I've got this. I'm going to Prairie DevCon next, which is in Manitoba in Canada, which fairly small conference, so it's nothing even to like brag about or anything. And I'm doing talks again that I've done before, and then I've got nothing. And I've even it's kind of that time of year where you're submitting talks to go to conferences, and I have little to talk about, so I haven't submitted anywhere either. So as of right now, I got my full-time job as like a consultant going and helping other companies, but I'm not doing much other than that. So yeah, no, I wish I had more. I should start a podcast about something. I don't know what, but yeah, I got nothing going on.
All
So
right,
yeah,
well,
nothing to promote. Sorry.
but you're promoting that you have free time. That's good.
Yeah,
That's a
come
good
check
thing.
me out.
Yeah,
Tell,
it's just, I got
tell me
some
to do
stuff
something.
to do. Maybe you can catch up on Letterkenny. We talked about that.
That's a good idea.
In the
I
preparation.
do love me some Letterkenny.
It's very crass, but it's very funny. All right. Well, this has been a great episode. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us yet again. Again, welcome back at any time. But we really appreciate you coming on. And I know this was kind of short notice for you, so you kind of helped us out, jumping in and being very flexible. So appreciate
Awesome.
that.
Literally anytime you need, I'm here for you. I love just chatting with you. So
Yeah,
it's great.
it's good. It's a good time. For sure. It's good times. It's good times.
It's good times. Good times.
All right. If you'd like to get in touch with us here at the /, drop us a line at the /@calibrity.com. See you next time.
Scoobity bop.
The / podcast is created by Calibrity. Our director is Dylan Kortz, producer Ryan Wilson, with editing by Steve Barrett. Marketing support comes from Taylor Blessing. I'm your host, James Carmen. Thanks for listening.